Surprise! Alright, another hypothetical scenario for nerdy contemplations. Empty gun versus sword. Which wins? Recently I stumbled upon a scene from a movie where a gruff-looking cowboy was facing a samurai. So they went through the usual ludicrous movie fight shenanigans, and in the end the cowboy won. He had to parry the katana, which actually cut into the frame of the revolver. Now, suspension of disbelief, all fine and good, but this is stretching it a little. Like, this is stretching it to levels unseen outside of the hardcore fetish community, I'd imagine. And before somebody brings up Isao Machi, the famous Japanese swordsman who cut a sheet of steel in half, now, I have the utmost respect for his skill. He's very good, no doubt about it. He's got some impressive displays of skill with the sword. A thin sheet of metal that is being cut, edge on edge. Of course it works. All of that force is concentrated on this thin edge, and there's just not much material in the way of that blade. And in fact, Thrand has shown that with a bronze blade. A revolver, on the other hand, is designed to withstand the high pressure spikes from the rapidly expanding gases when the powder ignites. And that's quite a lot of force. And it's a lot of steel. I mean, for the size of the revolver, it is quite heavy. It is pretty dense. In fact, a revolver generally tends to weigh about the same as a sword. It is a lot of material. I mean, even a high-quality steel sword can cut halfway into a bronze blade, let alone all the way through, let alone steel, let alone a massive gun frame. Now, I wouldn't recommend trying to parry a sword cut with a polymer frame, like on a Glock. It might still, in fact, I'm fairly sure that it will probably still withstand it. But, polymer versus steel, I wouldn't necessarily risk it. But then again, I wouldn't really risk trying to parry a sword with a handgun to begin with. Why? Well, the thing is, when defending with a sword, you have a lot to work with. Plenty of real estate, so to speak, for the opponent's blade to land. So if a blade is threatening me with a cut, I have a lot of different ways of parrying it. I can parry high up here, I can parry down low, and I can parry from maybe about here all the way down to the crossguard. The further down you go, the higher the danger of the hands being targeted, but you can very comfortably parry in the center of the blade, and you have quite a bit of space up and down to work with. So if you mess it up just a little bit, or if you, let's say the opponent changes the angle of the cut, it doesn't take as much to redirect. Let's say the opponent's cut starts up here, so I raise up, but then the cut goes low. I have a lot of margin for error. I can catch it here, I can catch it here. A pistol, on the other hand, gives me a lot less options. I can parry with the top of the slide, or maybe the bottom of the barrel. A trigger guard, this gets really uncomfortably close to the fingers. I don't think I would want to catch anything this way, because the danger of miscalculating just a little bit and catching it on the fingers just seems too great. So instead, I'd rather want to catch it here. And this is about all I got. So I can catch it anywhere here. And if I come up and the opponent dips under to change the angle, now I have only this little to work with. I can technically do this. So it's a deflectional parry. I'm not going to try to do a static block with this tiny thing. As soon as I'm close enough, I can work with this. At this point, this is basically unarmed fighting. There's a small chance you can do something against the blade unarmed, because you can't dodge and you can't move in. But it's really, really hard and really, really risky. Of course, what I can also do is dodge at the same time. So if I step over here, then this misses me to begin with. And if I then want to be on the safe side, I can do this as well to try to get that out of the way. So I would not be comfortable just doing this and nothing else, because this is actually really hard. If he changes the angle just a little bit, like, I can't see that in time. It's much harder to actually catch that and defend with it. The same applies to fist weapons, by the way, and knives and daggers for that matter.
There's a lot of martial arts that assume that because you're going to do something fancy and nobody knows about it, it's automatically going to work because it's unexpected. It's simply not true. He's doing something unexpected, but it's still an armed confrontation. I would treat that the same way I would treat if he had a sword or whatever.
The other obvious problem is reach. The sword is threatening me at a distance where I can do absolutely nothing against the swordsman, and I have to somehow get past that and move into this danger zone where I can be threatened without being able to threaten the opponent. So somehow I need to be able to move in here, get the blade out of the way, and then strike in whatever way. But they're not really going to let me to move in quite a bit. And he has the handle to work with, he can also grapple. So even if I manage, he still has a potential advantage. And he knows exactly what I can do. I mean, this is my reach. Like, I need to be all the way over here to hit him. Look where his blade is. It's just, and this is very predictable. The reach disadvantage is much more severe than you may think. Oh, just rush in, then you have the upper hand with your short weapon. Not so fast. Having a shorter weapon which is less effective at blocking or parrying makes it a lot harder to keep yourself protected while moving in. And rushing in against the sword without good defense makes the Reaper really happy. Dodging, on the other hand, can theoretically work, but is difficult and risky. You don't get invincibility frames in real life, and the opponent's reach means trying to move in is like a minefield dance. They won't just stand there watching you roll around and perform an Assassin's Creed takedown on them. So having nothing but a handgun would be such a massive disadvantage that you can pretty much forget about it unless you're so vastly superior in speed and skill that it doesn't really matter anymore what you have. You might as well just punch the swordsman, or you might as well just have a fork. You know, it would need that drastic of a gap in skill and physical ability. However, if you had a rifle or a musket, that's a different story, because now you have a lot of reach, you have a lot more mass to parry and displace the opponent's sword, and this could strike pretty hard too. You know, whether it's butt strike or the strike with a barrel, this thing is pretty heavy. This is way heavier than any sword really, aside from maybe some great swords. Swords are really not anywhere near as heavy as a lot of people think. This, on the other hand, has plenty of heft. So if you struck somebody with this, that would definitely be hazardous, I guess. And even better, of course, if you happen to have a bayonet. Now, I would actually bet on the musket user in this case, because this is essentially a very heavy spear. And spears have quite an advantage. They have a massive reach advantage. You know, I can stab you from all the way over here, whereas with a sword there is no way you could reach me. And this is highly effective too. Because you have that much mass and that much force, you can put your entire body weight into it, plus the weight of the musket, all concentrated on this point here. Yeah, bad news for the opponent. So in this case, yeah, I would bet on the gun. And that's it for that particular discussion. Hope you found it entertaining. Thanks for watching. Check out the video description where I'll post my Patreon page and a few other interesting links. If you want to support the channel and help fund future videos, that's highly appreciated. Have a good one, folks. Fall. For one, it depends on the gun. How much would you enjoy getting hit in the head with this?
2 out of 10?
2 out of 10?
Yeah, do it so.
So it makes a bit of a difference if you have, like, you know, something small, especially if it's a polymer frame pistol, or if you have this big thing where it doesn't even matter how I hit him with the barrel or with the, you know, the butt end. This is going to be painful.